Kugan Cassius for IFL TV. We're at the Matchroom headquarters here in the studio. I remember the pen.
It's a lovely pen.
Do you remember? We forgot the pen last time. I had to remember everything. It's not really a problem.
It's a lovely pen. Look at the way the top goes with your top as well.
Did you get that on purpose?
And look at that. And the stem with the Millionaire Boys Club colour.
Ah, it's all strategic, isn't it?
Very impressive.
It's James Helder, you can't understand. Just to clarify, best questions, you're going to give out tickets to the Glasgow show next week or the Liverpool show?
Yeah, you got a choice. They can have a choice.
They can have a choice. Okay, no problem. Well, we're going to get straight into it. The quicker you answer, the more we can get through.
Oh,
we had just under 3,000.
It's pretty good. I didn't retweet it till late on as well. I didn't see it. So
yeah, it took till 6, 7 this morning.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Right, we're going to go nice and easy for your first question. Okay. You know, I like to do that. This is from Marnie. Hearn, you are a waste man. You sent Rose to America knowing that he would get outclassed. You sent him anyway, mandatory or not. Bad skills, bro. P.S. Khan smashes Brooke, and you know it. Brew. Peace.
I'm so surprised that he's a Khan fan with comments like that. Listen, I'm sure that the Brian Rose question will come up a lot. It was briefly explained by my old man yesterday. It's not rocket science. Everybody wants to get to the top level. You get to a certain level, you want to go one further. So someone like Brian Rose, in his case, he won the British title. He fought against Alcine. I managed to carve out a final eliminator against Maciel, who's actually a top fighter, just beat Melendez the other weekend. Brian won a very, very close decision. He became the mandatory for the world champion. What do you think happens then? I mean, did I think Brian Rose would lose? I knew it was going to be a very, very difficult fight. But it was also a shot for him at the world title in New York. I don't understand the mentality of you shouldn't have taken that fight. He was the mandatory challenger for the world title. You imagine if I would turn around to Brian and gone, Brian, I know you're mandatory challenger now for the world title, and it's a lot of money, and it's in New York and it's live on HBO and Sky Sports, but I think we should pass on that opportunity. I mean, it's just unthinkable. So, unfortunately, if you're not good enough, you're not going to win. And that was a mixture of Brian being not good enough, and he definitely froze a little bit on the night as well. But he'll come back and he'll go again. He's happy. He learnt a lot from the experience, and he'll be a better fighter. He wasn't good enough. He may never win a world title. But what he can tell his grandchildren is that he fought for a world title in New York. You know. One thing that I think it's important to stress is every fighter and every situation is different. So when people say, oh, you sent Rose, Purdy, Reese, well, let's analyse them. Lee Purdy, it went down the list after Kell Brook pulled out, and Lee Purdy got the shot against Devon Alexander. Now, Lee Purdy had fought for a British title, won the British title, fought at sort of under fringe world level, won an intercontinental belt. Lee Purdy, his best paycheck till he got, I mean, you know, he received more than 10 times what he'd ever earned in his life with that opportunity to go to Atlantic City and fight Devon Alexander. Do you honestly expect me to take that away from him? In whatever you do in any walk of life, you want to improve yourself, you want to earn more money, and you want to keep moving up the ladder. Sometimes you slip off the ladder because you're not good enough. But it's just the same in any job that you do. You get to a level, you want to improve. You want more money. You keep moving up to try and reach the top of the mountain. And if you're not good enough, you won't get there. Gavin Reese, a voluntary defence. Reese was former world champion. He won the British, won the European. He'd done everything. He got a world title shot against Adrian Broner, bucket load of money. You know, to go out there. I mean, it's not even... You can't even consider turning these opportunities down for these individual people. Do you understand what I'm saying? And to think that, you know, Brian Rose was sent over there to lose. No, he finished with domestic level. He fought a world title eliminator against a quality fighter. He won it and he became a mandatory challenger. If you turn down that opportunity, I don't know what sort of man you are, to be honest with you, because you just... What are you in it for? You're in it to try and win world titles. It doesn't mean you're going to win one. but you can't be turning down a shot when you're a mandatory challenger.
Is there an argument though that people like Brian Rose and also Lee Purdy, who actually fought for a European title after that, they've skipped that level, that little...
Not really, because I think, I mean, Rose beat people, like, I mean, beat Alcine. I would say Alcine was, well, obviously he was a former world champion, but around European level at the time. Even the people that he beat for the belt, I mean, Prince Aaron was a good fighter, you know, I just think, and he beat Maciel, who's better than European level. He just fought a very good fighter on Andrade. But, I mean, it really baffles me, people's mentality on Twitter, that you shouldn't take these opportunities. You should just stay at this level. And can you imagine me sitting there with a fighter, Brian Rose, and he says, you know, I'd love to get a world title shot. It means so much to me. You know, if you could find an opportunity for me to do that. I go, no, to be honest with you, I think you should just keep defending that British title. And maybe we'll move to European level. This is what they want. And I want to see how good they are and how good they can be. Because I want world champions. Some are going to make it, some aren't. But all I can ever do is provide an opportunity for my fighter to win a world title and to make as much money as possible. And Brian Rose will be back in a 10-rounder in September, October. Then he may fight another final eliminator or have a big domestic fight. And he may end up one day fighting for another world title. Hopefully against a much less quality opposition. Because Andrade is very, very good. Much better than we thought, actually. But once you become a mandatory, you can't be turning these shots down. I mean, you know, it's crazy. So, cheers to the Wasteman geezer, and nothing's changed. Kell Brook would still knock Amir Khan out, but that's another story.
He said peace at the end.
Oh, peace. Peace, man.
Brew.
Peace.
B-R-O-O-O-O-O. Brew.
Bro.
Brew.
Okay.
Question for Eddie Hearn. What is next? This is from Luke Madeira. What is next for Scott Quigg, and would Santa Cruz consider coming over to England, or would that fight have to take place in America? Santa
Cruz hasn't got to consider coming over to the UK because we're more than happy to go to America and fight him. And Scott wants to go to America. This is another thing, by the way. Fighters, believe it or not, do want to go to America. It's a big deal, you know. I mean, you've been out there, So with Santa Cruz, I'm in talks with Golden Boy again on that, and we're well up for that fight. Quigg is well up for that fight. Doesn't matter where. There's been a few minor talks that he might box on the Mayweather card. Of course, Quigg will be there in a heartbeat. So hopefully we can make the Santa Cruz fight, and that's top priority at the moment. I can't sit here and tell you it's close because it's not. But we've made our intentions clear, home or away. That's a fight Scott Quigg would have, and I think it's a great fight. Okay.
Phil C. Eddie, why is there all this talk of Butler McDonnell and money being offered when we all know that Butler must face RC, Randy Caballero, or vacate? And is that a fight any good to you without the IBF?
Well, firstly, it was reported to us that an offer was made for Jamie McDonnell to fight Paul Butler. We didn't make the first approach. They supposedly made an offer to Jamie McDonnell's manager. We all know the situation with that and the board at the moment and the dispute going on. So, unless they were just playing games, I presume they are able to make that fight because they've made an offer. So, I made a counter offer. I haven't seen their offer. No one knows how much it is. I've not seen how much that offer is. It certainly weren't more than 200,000, I would imagine. So, my offer was 200,000. Should they vacate the title and fight Jamie McDonnell, I would certainly still make them an offer. Can't tell you it would be 200,000 because they wouldn't have a belt. But it's a big fight. It's a fight I want to make. It's a fight Jamie wants. Jamie feels that he should still have the IBF belt. So, in answer to the question, I'm not sure he has got to fight Randy Caballero. It's not my business to know. That's what I heard. But when they started talking about wanting the fight and making offers, presumably they can. Or maybe they can. I don't know. Everyone tells me now that Butler will vacate the belt and move down. But who knows? But it's definitely a fight I'd like to make.
Okay.
It's good. We're having a good start here. It's getting the blood, you know.
I'm going to bring it back down a little bit now. Lewis Crowley says, can you please ask Eddie where the name Matchroom came from? I actually know this one.
It's a good question. Do you? I don't.
I do.
I mean, Matchroom was the snooker hall.
Yeah, that's from that, obviously.
Yeah, that's it. Snooker hall in Romford, where my dad had a snooker hall. Started out hustling.
Okay.
Taking Steve Davis all over the country. I mean, it's great stories. they used. I mean, how Matchroom started originally. My old man was a chartered accountant, one of the youngest in the country, and bought a chain of snooker halls, etc. And one day, this guy's gone to him. You've got to come and look at this ginger kid down the snooker hall. He's unbelievable. I think he was like 15. My old man walked in. It was Steve Davis. And then from there, my old man took him all over the country, basically just hustling. Walk into any club, go up to a club champion and say, look, I've got this kid, do you want to play him for 100 quid or whatever? And then just every club, boom, 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 up and down, driving around. It's like White Men Can't Jump. You know, when they were going around just hustling,
People, yeah.
And that's how it got cracking.
Gareth Marks, is the Millennium Stadium a viable option for Cleverley and Bellew?
Not really, because of the date. I know it's got a roof, but still to do an outdoor event in November, I'm not so sure. I mean, I've spoken to both fighters. Both fighters are more than happy to fight anywhere, but obviously it's the venue that financially makes the most sense. So the ones in play are Echo, it's already been discussed, Phones View Arena in Manchester. We've got a huge show in October at the O2, which be more details about that soon. That's potential. And the Millennium Stadium. The good thing about the Millennium Stadium is, one, the Millennium Stadium's too big for that fight, but you are able to put a screen across, draping across part, say a quarter of the stadium, and just use that part, and it's got the roof. The problem is with these stadiums is, if you were to bring a good crowd for that, or an achievable crowd for that fight, is somewhere between 20 and 30,000. Is that right in the Millennium Stadium? Do you know what I mean? Mm. These are big, big places. So I would say more likely the O2, Manchester or Liverpool.
Okay. Sister Sledge 181. Eddie, I went to Froch v Groves. I'm going to Zora Fury. Main event wise, Froch Groves is bigger, but undercard wise, the Manchester one is a lot better. You'd have to agree, surely. I'm not talking about the undercard. I'm just talking about the undercards, not venue or main event.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something like 16 fights on. They've all got to happen, of course, and I don't know what's happening and what's not. But yeah, I would go along with it. I mean, the quality of the fighters and the names involved on Froch Groves was, in my opinion, much stronger. But from a profile and a commercial point of view, but there's some very good trade fights on the Chisora Fury card.
Okay.
I do feel like we had the right amount of fights at Wembley, don't you?
Yeah, you had a float as well.
Yeah, I mean, in the end there was 7 with the floats.
Yeah.
So I don't think we could have done much more. Didn't have one complaint about the undercard
Yeah.
And did you also get the feeling that because there were so many casuals there, everyone was sort of sitting, just waiting. And it was, you got the impression a lot of the time, people weren't really taking that much notice of what was going on until Froch Groves turned up.
The girl was good though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jack Brody, what was the most important thing, if anything, you took away and learned from the whole Froch Grove experience, from the build-up through fight week, then the fight itself?
Probably just dream big. I mean, the whole thing was such a roller coaster, of emotion in that. It's hard to explain. I never really got a chance to take it all in, and even now it feels like it didn't really happen. Do you understand? I don't know. It's been a weird one to get my head round, because you work so hard at so many different shows, and then when this happens, out of nowhere on such a huge scale, I don't know, it was weird. I can't really explain it. I mean, what did I learn? I learned that there's a huge market out there for boxing. I learned that Wembley are phenomenal at what they do. I learned that if you build it, they will come. I learned that Carl Froch is even more of a legend than I first anticipated. I learned that it's when you go around the world, like when I was in America at the weekend, the Americans coming up saying, man, we saw that show, wow. You think, wow, brilliant, how good's that? That people around the world are sitting up and taking notice of British boxing.
I see some tweets coming out of Mayweather promo Twitter account yesterday about England coming up yesterday.
You can't not watch it.
Yeah, of course.
If you're involved in the boxing business, you can't not watch that and think, wow, what's going on in the UK right now?
Simon D. Eddie, Paul Butler won a world title in his 16th fight. You have milked Brook to 30 odd fights fighting bums. Don't you realise that Porter will end his career before it's even started? You should have got him top 10 ranked welterweights to prepare him for this. We all know Brook Jones 3 is already scheduled for later on in the year. Hashtag Plan B.
Certainly not. I think Kell's been unlucky. I think if you look at, and you know, a lot of people talked about, oh, Kell was mandatory for Pacquiao. No, he wasn't. You know, and he was never ever going to get a shot at Manny Pacquiao with a WBO. And that was one of the reasons, actually, that we took him away from that route and took him to the IBF route. Let's look at when we signed Kell Brook, which was, I think his first fight for us was 2012.
Jacowitz?
No, Love More and Do.
Oh, Love More and Do.
That was, I believe, I mean, I might be wrong, I think it was the summer of 2012. He fought Love More and Do. Gatekeeper, if you like. I mean, certainly not top 10 in the world at the time. First time Kell boxing his hometown. Then it was all about building his profile more than anything. A couple of months later, he boxed Rafael Djakovic, September, October. Good fighter. Not top 10 in the world. Fringe top 10 in the world at the time. Never been stopped. Kell stopped him. Then I took him to Atlantic City on the Ward Froch card.
Garcia.
Fought Luis Garcia, decent Puerto Rican. More about the experience of boxing in America. Finished that. Came back in March and fought Carson Jones in an IBF eliminator. Carson Jones, good fighter, tough. Kell was in terrible condition. Got very complacent about his star status in British boxing, I think. And nearly come unstuck. Later on that year, I think it was October, he boxed Saldivia in a final eliminator for the IBF title. To that point, that was 15 months. So in 15 months, I'd got him the experience. I'd boxed him at huge arenas with him headlining. For Matthew Hatton. Matthew Hatton was the one before Carson Jones. Brilliant occasion for him. 10,000 people at Sheffield Arena. I mean, that was 6 months after there was 1,500 in Hillsborough Leisure Centre. So, to be quite honest with you, and not blowing our own trumpet, the job we did on Kell Brook up until the Saldivia fight was absolutely phenomenal. He was the mandatory challenger for the IBF World title. If he would have fought Devon Alexander then, the whole route would have been absolutely perfect. Right? First time round, the bout was scheduled for January 2013. Kell got injured. It was rearranged for February or March.
February.
Alexander got injured, tore his bicep. It was rearranged for May, and Kell Brook got injured. Absolute nightmare of events. You know, that was 2013. So we're sitting there now in May 2013, and Kell, per default, and that was Alexander's mandatory obligation taken care of. So we've got to wait for the next cycle, and we've still got to make sure we're number one. So from there, he fights a 10 round against Carson Jones. Commercially, people got to realise that fight makes sense. The first fight was such a good fight. The second fight was okay. Kell stopped him. Then in October, November, he fights a voluntary eliminator for the number one spot against Senchenko. I believe top 10 welterweight. Former world champion, blah, blah, blah. Commercially great. Ended Ricky Hatton's career. Kell destroys him. Boom. With a mandatory challenger. Then all of a sudden, Sean Porter beats Devon Alexander and gets about 4 or 5 month extension on what would have been if he fought Alexander. So he has a tick over against Robles, and now he's ready to go. So in answer to the question, no. I think Kell has probably had 2 or 3 fights more than he should have had before he fought for a world title. But sometimes things happen that you have to deal with, and you have to put a contingency plan in place. So Kell Brook will become world champion, and I think he's more than ready to do so. The proof will be in the pudding. And as we said all along, if he's not good enough, he will not win the world title. I believe he is. And actually, bar the injuries, which unfortunately happen in sport and definitely in boxing, The job we've done with him has been phenomenal. He's gone from not even headlining shows to filling arenas consistently, and he's a superstar of sport, and his ratings are fantastic. He beats Sean Porter, he becomes a huge pay-per-view star. Simple as. And yes, it's taken a year longer than I would have liked.
Affy. Eddie, is it true that Matchroom pay-per-view shows are purposely better promoted by Sky compared to other promoters' pay-per-views? For example, most people thought that Hey Fury was poorly promoted on Sky, whereas Froch Groves 1 and 2 were quality promotions.
I think the Sky shows, Sky will promote certain fights, or pay-per-view fights, at a similar level. Obviously the promoter, I wasn't the promoter for Hey Fury, so they'll promote it differently than I would promote it. So I don't know if that means we've done a better job than the promoters of that show, or maybe they pushed Froch Groves 2 a little bit harder, Sky did, but they were certainly pushing Hey Fury. But it's quite easy to get lazy when you've sold the arena out, and you just let Sky do it. But we work a little bit differently on that. So it's probably down to the fact that we did more and we had more presence for that fight.
Okay. Carl Mays. Eddie, if fighters are winning, you seem to be the best promoter in the world. When they are not, you seem to neglect them a bit. Not criticism, just an observation.
I'd like to know who. I mean, we've brought plenty of fighters back who have lost. I don't know. I mean, Froch lost at Wald. Ricky Burns, he's back fighting, will fight for a WBC title soon. Darren Barker lost to Sergio Martinez, come back with 2 good wins, then won the world title. Gavin Rees lost to Broner, come straight back in a big fight against Crawler. Lee Purdy lost, come back in a big fight against Leonard Bundu. To be honest with you, I think that's absolute bollocks. But I also think that when a fighter loses, it makes me want to do more for them. Because, and I get loads of, someone sent me a tweet the other day going, another Matchroom mismatch. This is about Brian Rose. So I said, so are you saying that I match my fighters too hard or too easy? Because sometimes it's too easy and then other times it's too hard. True. It's like, oh no, you match them too hard. So, oh right. Not think there's many promoters that have been accused of that before, but some fights are tough and some aren't so tough. But I disagree with that point. I think every fighter that we've had who's lost has been brought back, and I mean the only one that hasn't been and will fight in the summer is probably Darren Hamilton, who lost against Curtis Woodhouse. So he'll be back soon. But generally, of the fighters that have lost, I think we do a great job for them.
Okay.
And the loss is certainly never the end of your career, by the way.
Absolutely not. David Torrens. Obviously, you get on with Team Sauerland and with the WBA, WBO and IBF champions and very highly ranked guys, DeGale, Groves, Kessler in 2 stables. Will you both try and have a duopoly of super middleweight division?
Oh, what?
A duopoly.
Oh, duopoly.
Yeah. What did I say?
Duopoly.
Duopoly of the super middleweight division and in turn alienate Andre Ward at 168, as we all know that none of the European guys will ever get close to beating him.
Andre Ward, I know I give him a little bit of stick. I was with him in New York last week. We'll get back to Andre Ward in a minute. Read the questions on the Sauerland. Get on great with Keller and Nissa. Met him last week. On the phone to him last night for an hour or so. We're doing loads of business together. And I'm sure those fighters there mentioned will certainly be in the mix at some point. Some huge fights there. You'll probably see Froch DeGale at some point. You may end up seeing DeGale Groves at some point. DeGale Abraham, Groves Abraham. I'm sure you'll see Kessler as well in the mix there. So, with regards to the last part of the question, Andre Ward, you've just got to remember, Andre Ward doesn't carry the commercial value of certain fighters that are easier to beat and stylistically more fan-friendly. That's all it is. Andre Ward is brilliant. Great fighter.
Is he unbeatable at 160?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I still think Froch will give him a great fight in the UK. I can't sit here and tell you who's going to beat him. But I just think, but what's he doing? I know he's got a dispute with his promoter, but he can still box. But anyway, he's not my fight. It's not my business. But I just think Andre Ward needs to fight. He's got to grow his profile. He was walking around in Brooklyn, no one knows who he is. Anyway.
Stephen S.
I said he couldn't sell out his living room and Virgil Hunter gave me a pull.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I don't blame him.
Well, no, but it's the truth, you know.
Pound for pound, probably the second best fighter in the world.
I did say that.
Yeah.
I said, listen, pound for pound, but as a draw, you know, like I was talking to him in America, I said, did you see the fight? Yeah, man. I said, there's 80,000 here, Andre. He's like, yeah, man, I can do 7 or 8,000 in Auckland, no problem. Like, yeah, it's not really the same, you know.
Stephen S. I like this one. Eddie, why isn't John Wish ever seen on camera? Can you confirm to us that he actually exists? I personally think he is your Al Heyman, and we don't know whether he really exists or not.
John Wishausen is our director of boxing. If you speak to John Wishausen, anyone about John Wishausen, they will tell you the absolute nicest man in the sport, the straightest man in the sport, the biggest gentleman in the sport. He gets on with his own work. He has no interest in being seen or heard. You know him. You confirm he exists.
I can confirm he exists, yes.
It was funny to talk about Al Heyman the other day because he's made contact with quite a few UK fighters that I know. And I just said, how do you know it's him? Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, this is Al Heyman. Wow. And then they go, you know, Al Heyman called me. I said, yeah, but how do you know it's Al Heyman? Have you heard him talk before? No. No. Maybe you should FaceTime him.
I'll be honest with you, I've rung up a couple of boxers before.
I wouldn't be surprised. No, you know what? Well, if I tell you that, someone's going to find out, but we should do something on
that. James Pack. While I know Matchroom are planning on launching their own streaming service, does it annoy you how much revenue you lose through illegal streaming sites, especially for pay-per-views, or is it an
uncontrollable?
No, insignificant, amount.
I think from a Sky perspective, they're very active, obviously, as you would be, in trying to take down streams. I think they've done a decent job. I mean, I'm sure you could have found one somewhere, but I don't think there were many. I didn't see many floating around, and they were proactive in that. I think for a subscription service like a Box Nation, illegal streaming is a huge problem, because I know a lot of people, you see it on Twitter, who are watching streams of Box Nation. So if your business survives on subscription, then it is a huge problem. And I know that I was reading something the other day that one particular site has been stopped where a lot of people were watching Box Nation and Sky and stuff like that, but then another one starts up. And I think it's something that's very difficult to control and police, but they are active in doing so. For us, our subscription service, you know, we're investing in this. So, and it's not just a subscription service for live shows, it's pre-ordering tickets, it's content from Matchroom shows, it's your brand new show that you'll be launching. So, you know, it's definitely a problem for all live sport and rights holders, not just boxing. You know, streaming's been around, illegal streaming's been around for a while, very difficult to police, and I wouldn't say it's frustrating, it's just part and parcel of live sporting events. Okay.
Conor McCaffrey, what's the current situation with your link up with Haymaker Promotions? Are you still involved in any capacity, or will you be involved in David's comeback?
I had a co-promotional agreement around the what was the fight? Manuel Char fight, which from there triggered in some pay-per-view stuff, etc. Obviously that went all through. I had a small role in the Hey Fury from a commercial side, and obviously dealing with the undercard. I spoke to Adam Booth last night, actually. If he fights again, he doesn't have to be with us. I think there's a chance that we might be involved moving forward. I still think he's got a lot to give. I still think he's a huge name. But I think they'll look at their own options and decide which path is best. So in answer, am I still involved? Don't know really, I guess not. Only on a friendly basis with Adam, but certainly he'll get my views moving forward, and if what we can deliver is attractive to them, then yeah, you'll see us working with Haymaker again.
If he's back fighting, would you say that he's the biggest name in British boxing?
No, I think that's Garth Roach.
Okay.
I do. I mean,
profile-wise?
Yeah, I mean, you know, at the moment, just because what I've seen lately, being out with him, you know, the demands from the media, etc., I think he's hot. He's hot at the moment. But David Hay in the past has been bigger than Garth Roach. But at the moment, you know, I think David, you know, it's probably more of a credibility factor now with David in that, you know, he had the injuries against Fury, and I think a lot of people wanted to see that fight. So I think it's a case of proving how serious he is about the sport. And in speaking to Adam and speaking to David, I think, you know, they want to get out and be active and then look for that big fight. So I think it's a commitment to boxing again, rather than just looking for a big fight and coming out of retirement, if you like. Do you understand?
Yeah. Have you heard about any potential opponents for those?
No, not really. I don't think these opponents are going to be big, huge names, because I think he wants to box 2, 3, 4 times in a quick succession to get active again and to prove to people how serious he is.
He actually said on Sky the other day, like, it's not really fair of him just to jump back like onto the scene and like demand a shot at Stavone or something.
I think that's great. I think fans like that, and I think if he can get that credibility back and get to a situation where fans believe in him again, I think he's still got a big future in the heavyweight division.
Frankie A. Eddie, do you remember a middleweight you used to have called John Ryder? You seem to have totally forgotten about him after his Billy Joe Saunders defeat. Yeah, Jez Wilson, but what now?
Well, I haven't forgotten about him. He had a hand injury, fractured his hand. So he boxed boxed Billy Joe.
Your call, Bill.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Then he boxed in. Oh, he got injured against Billy Joe. Then he came back. He boxed in Liverpool. He boxed in Liverpool. Boxed somewhere else. Boxed headlined on a prize fighter show against Jez Wilson. Fractured his hand. He's going to be out at the end of July in a 6-rounder, and then he's going to box again in London on October 11th.
What's the end of July?
It would just be another show, another promoter show. We're going to get him on because he's not ready till the end of July. So, and we're done on July 12th. So we might put him on in Liverpool, but he'll definitely be out before the end of July, and then he'll box again. Hopefully, a lot revolves around Billy Joe because we'd love a shot at the British title. Billy Joe will beat Blanda Murray out of the European. He'll probably look at world honours after that. So hopefully they can free up the British. Nick Blackwell deserves a shot. So Ryder Blackwell's a great fight.
Okay. Aidan Neal, with Matchroom potentially moving into the US market, does that mean you're going to have loads of British fighters at mad times in the morning on cards in America? Also, does this mean less stacked UK cards?
No, I mean just to clear up the whole US thing, it's another market for us, which as a business you have to look at. You know, I feel like in 3 years, which is the period I've held a promoter's license in this country, it's not a long time. We've established ourselves as number one. I don't want to sound like an arrogant prick, but we are number one. I think there's anyone that wouldn't agree with that. So when you get in that position, you have to capitalise, and you have to look at expanding, and you have to look at new opportunities, and new opportunities means new markets. So America is a huge market, and I look at the landscape in America, and I look at the promoters, and I look at, no disrespect, but the age of some promoters, and I think there's an opportunity there. I speak to fighters, I speak more importantly to broadcasters who like what we're doing, who feel like we're something a little bit fresh in boxing, who turn on to Wembley and go, wow, these guys are players, and I want to be involved in the American market. So it's not necessarily about just moving our fighters over there. It's about building US fighters as well. It's about taking our existing fighters and giving them opportunities in America, particularly younger ones, which you'll see over the next couple of months happen more and more. Our younger fighters going out to the States, getting opportunities to learn and box in new environments and to increase their profile in a new market. And then I would say probably in 2015 you may see some Matchroom shows. It's all about broadcasters. You know, so once a broadcaster, if a broadcaster over there comes and gives me half a dozen dates, then all of a sudden we've got a huge business in the States. If they give us one date, then you'll see us do something. You might see us team up with another promoter. But, you know, all these questions, now you've done that at Wembley, what's next? Well, maybe that's your answer, you know, expansion into a new market. But the US is definitely on the radar. But it won't affect anything in the UK. And the UK, we're not taking our half the ball. We've still got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
It's never gone.
Jack Balcom. Eddie, if you didn't get the Sky deal, would you still be promoting boxing?
It goes back to what I just said. Everything is based around the broadcaster. So if I didn't have a Sky deal, I'd be out trying to get another broadcast deal. And if I didn't get that, would I promote small hall shows? Probably not. I don't think there's a great business to be made out of small hall shows and non-televised shows. So yeah.
Okay. Liam Donovan. Kugan, can you ask Eddie if he has toyed with the idea of putting the tickets on sale at different times? As I'm a working man, find it hard to be able to commit to getting tickets at midday, and I'm in work and I feel I've missed out on a few shows because of this. Would it not be user friendly to have tickets on sale around 6 PM to make it fairer on those who hold down jobs?
I've just realised I've totally forgot about this ticket thing.
Have you really?
So I'll have to go back over the last one. But I've just realised, because as you were reading it, I was thinking, in my head I was thinking a couple of things, thinking, this is a good question. And I was also thinking, these are the best questions we've done so far, I think, on any Q&A. So I'm going to go back through some of the other ones, but they will start right now. And that
they're
guy
not going
gets
to know.
Yeah, they are, because they're watching this right now and they'll be told. Don't worry, we'll deal with it.
We'll tell them in the second part.
Yeah, we'll deal with it. So that person gets tickets.
Ticket for Liam, well done.
Yeah.
I was going to say these shows must be going really well. You ain't
Yeah.
giving away. Yeah, answer.
What was the question again? No, so good, valid point. Something we're looking at. Could we do it at 5, 6, 7 o'clock? I don't know. 9 o'clock. Can you keep everyone happy? Do it at 5 o'clock. Some people are on the way home from work. Some people, I don't know.
See what they're saying. It will suit some people. It won't
It's
suit
difficult
others.
to know what the optimum time is to put tickets on sale. Do you understand what I mean? Like, so what's better than midday? 9? 7? Do you know what I mean? There's pluses and minuses for both. But it is something that I think about. So he's on my wavelength.
All right. Liam, you have a choice of Glasgow next week or Liverpool. Darren Ellicus, if I've got that wrong, I apologise.
I don't want to really enjoy. Give me those tickets, those questions that we've had so far. I'm going to scour through them, because otherwise this is going to get messy.
Right.
You know, so it's going to be really quick. No, he called me a waste man.
No, he called me a waste man.
There's Jack Brody. Jack Brody, he's got one. Carl Mays, because he says that if I neglect fighters that lose, and that actually I didn't like that, and I felt I dealt with that very well.
So what you saying?
So Carl Mays gets one.
Okay.
That's a good question. Ames Pack about illegal streaming.
James Pack.
James Pack.
Yeah. Ames Pack.
And Aidan Neal about us moving into the US market.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
No problem. Right.
Don't you just love live TV,
It's great,
even though
isn't
it's
it?
not live?
It's just a taste of what's coming, believe me. Darren Ellicus, you have said publicly that you don't think Box Nation will work as a channel. Do you now change your opinion after hearing about the success and how the channel has grown?
No, because I don't think there's been... Again, it's difficult for me to sit here and criticise, because everyone thinks I've got an agenda. I don't think there has... I mean, the success of Box Nation is that it's still going. that's the biggest success of the channel. I don't think the subscriber numbers are a success because they're nowhere near break-even point. So,
but do you actually know these figures?
well, all I know is what was sent out on the recent float information that they intended to float, which is now they're not. And I did read that, and I was looking at what the proposed numbers were, and I don't think they hit them. So, I think it's not that I don't think Box Nation will work. I just don't think a subscription channel for boxing will work in this current market where we are at the moment. I think it's got much more chances of success now than it did 2 or 3 years ago, because I think boxing's in a better place. But I think it's a good channel. I don't think the UK content is out there and really top quality, but the international fights are excellent, what they have. But I just think, looking at viewership numbers, when, say, Sky do an international fight night, it's for a hardcore base audience. And I'm not sure there's a big enough hardcore number to make a channel like that successful. But you can't take the fact away that they're still there, they're still giving it a go, and it's been around. I didn't expect it to last as long as it has. That's being honest. I don't know how long it will last from now, but I do think I can't sit here and say it's not a good thing for boxing, because it is. More stations showing boxing, the better. And I think some of the content they have is brilliant.
Okay. Vi May. Eddie, what do you think of Chris Eubank Jr.? Would you sign him and give him a chance? I think he'd be a good addition to your stable.
I think Chris Eubank Jr. is a very talented young fighter. I think Chris Eubank Jr. is controversial, amusing. I'm not sure what he's trying to get at, but I know that when they do certain things, a lot of people talk about it, which from a commercial point you could class as a positive. I think Chris Eubank Jr.'s father is one of the most outstanding personalities and characters ever in British boxing. I think he was an unbelievable fighter and tough as nails. I don't like some of the things he does, and as a marketeer, I don't think they're doing certain things right. I think they're taking fights at too short notice without no real plan, and in that respect, not giving them the chance to develop in the right way from a ability standpoint and also from a commercial standpoint. I don't think there's a plan commercially and from a fight perspective, if that makes sense. That's my... Would I work with him? I don't know if me and his old man would get along. You know, from a fight perspective, yes, of course. I think he's a very, very talented fighter. I just don't know if me and his old man would get on and see eye to eye, because you got to remember, I've known his dad since I was 13, probably. It's over 20 years I've known his dad. And his dad calls me Edward, and I think his dad still sees me as Edward. We've had chats about Chris Eubank Jr. And he speaks to my dad and says, I know you're still running the business. And he says, Chris, I've got no involvement at all. And I think Chris, it's difficult for Chris to take that in, because he sees me as little Edward who used to just hang around in his gym. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if he would take me seriously enough to guide the career of his son, even though there'd be no one better to do it. So, you know, and I mean, you give him tickets because I think it's led to an interesting little couple of minutes. But again, from a fighting perspective, from what we could do from him, from a profile perspective, I would definitely like to work with Chris Eubank Jr. Could I work with Chris Eubank Sr.? Would we get on? Could be the stumbling block. But maybe the dad will be the stumbling block in a career. Or maybe he won't be. Maybe he'll be the one that gets him to where he needs to be. I don't know. But a lot of people talk about him.
They do. This is just a question for me. One word answer.
Go on.
Did Eubank Jr. get the better of Froch in sparring?
No, I mean, people talk about Froch was dropped in sparring. Froch was not dropped in sparring. And he certainly wasn't dropped in that spar. I've seen a load of footage from the spar. Eubank had good success in the spar. One round in particular, I remember watching the last round of 1 8-round spar. But it's not his sparring. It's not, did he get the better of him? No, I don't think so. But depends what you like, wasn't it? I mean, he's a sharp young kid with great speed and great movement. It's going to cause someone like Carl Froch problems. But it was perfect sparring for the Groves fight. But there's no denying he's a top talent.
Okay. Let's just try and wish.
I'm not sure about the dad in the corner.
The jacket.
I mean, again, what a great talking point. Everyone was talking about it who was watching that show.
Right.
But
I
don't know. Is it going to develop him as a fighter? I don't know.
Liam Seeley. Who do you feel is more important for each other? Matchroom for IFL TV or IFL TV for Matchroom? Would there be any negative implications for Matchroom, Kugan and his great work?
Yeah, you can give them a couple of tickets. I mean, I think that
Liam Seeley. Then.
We're both at a stage now where if we fell out, I don't think our business would suffer, but I don't think your business would suffer. Do you know what I mean? We've got a good relationship. I think the one thing you've got, which some actually don't understand how you've got, is you're everywhere. We let you go everywhere. I think you'll agree with that. Everybody's change rooms. You're up on the stage. I mean, Betway was saying to me yesterday, I mean, it's great. Kugan was the only person up on the stage filming the weigh-in. I was thinking, how did he get up there? Do you know what I mean? But you've got access that other people can't get. But that's why you're doing as well as you are. So I see huge amounts of value in you or IFL. That's why I have you at our events, and that's why I pay for you to be at our events. Not the 500 quid, but the expenses, because I see the value. If there's no value in being there, no disrespect, you wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean? You're alright in that, but you're there because I get value out of you. And I got you the sponsor because I think, one, you deserve it, and two, because I knew you were going to deliver for our sponsor, which is of paramount to us. So I think we're good for each other. Yeah. And now, eventually, when we launch this Matchroom Fight Pass, you will have your own show. So, I think that's another step. But
to be honest, it works both ways, because if you weren't doing as well as you are and you weren't putting as many shows, I mean, I think you're right in that, but I wouldn't be back round you as much as I would. Anyway.
I thought you liked me. I thought.
Negative implications for Matchroom?
What have not? No, listen. No. I mean, if we fell out, but I'm not like that. I mean, some promoters. I mean, you see it in America as well. They fall out with people, and it's like, I'm not having them at this show, man. I mean, I'm just not like that. So, do you like the accent?
I think we've got, I think we've gone past all that now. Anyway,
be careful to not hide your face.
Yes,
could be a good thing.
Yeah. Tom Hallam. Yo, Eddie, with Carl Froch signing up to take part in BBC's Tumble, do you have any worry of if Carl decides to fight on in his now usual November bout, that although it would be a cracking fight and it set up the mega Wembley rematch, a similar thing could happen to what happened with George Groves' bout after taking part in Stepping Out? Do you believe that if he's to fight on, this choice of taking part in Tumble indicates he's more likely to fight around May next year?
That's a good question. I know you turned your nose up, but it's a good question.
No, I wasn't there. I was just at the Tumble thing.
Yeah, so...
Not the question.
A lot of his commercial stuff, there's people working on that, and I'm not always the most supportive of these shows. I think he enjoys them. I think he's earned the right to be on them. It's massive profiles, particularly this BBC One show, and he quite fancies being involved in something like that. I think it finishes in August. The plan for Carl Froch is to box end of November, early December, and there's no guarantee he will. And if he doesn't, he might box just in the spring, which is quite realistic. And he may never box again. So the plan is still to carve out the right opportunity to box at the very end this year. But things like tumble and stuff like that, it's just profile. It's great money and it's great profile, but I think he just sort of sits around. Carl's the kind of person, like if it was me, if I was Carl Froch, right about now, I would be on a beach and I probably wouldn't move for about a month. Do you know what I'm saying? But he's not really like that. Like the next day he was like out in the garden doing something weird, like with paving stuff. I mean, that's like he's one of those real active people. He likes to do lots of things, and I think he sits at home after a couple of weeks and says, "Do you know what? I want to get back to the gym." Well, here's something that will take your mind off that, and you know, his profile's great right now, and this will only help.
Okay. We've got like 7 minutes left of this part, so I want to whiz through this to try and... Yeah.
Sorry if I'm being a bit long-winded.
No, that's all right. Somebody's needed this sort of length of asking.
Oh, I'm glad you approve.
It's all right. It's my show.
Is it?
Mark Mullen. If Anthony Joshua gets KO'd by Matt Skelton, how would you build him up again to be the superstar we all hope he becomes?
Well, I mean, it would be devastating. It would ruin the initial hype that we're creating, or Anthony's creating, and an excitement that people have about Anthony Joshua, but it can happen. And you know, people talk about Matt Skelton. I'm not being funny. This is Anthony's 7th fight. He's still a novice. David Price fought Skelton, I think 2 fights ago for Skelton, or 1 fight ago. He was 16-0, you know, and he was British champion as well. So this is a big fight for Joshua. I'm expecting him to win, but I think he's going to learn a lot in this fight. If he was ever to lose, then you go away, you learn, you come back, you go again. But it would take away some of the hype, the mystique, and the hope of many people. So it would be difficult.
Okay. Berger.
Daniel Berger.
Daniel Berger. I know boxers don't look past fights, but as a promoter, you will do for future fights and business. If Brook was to get past Porter, what do you think is next in line?
I mean, this is a fight against Sean Porter, you know, and I know I always harp on about mandatories, but when you win a world title and you have no future obligations to another promoter or another fight, you can write your own cheque. And in the welterweight division, you can especially write your own cheque. So if, and I tell you, when Kell Brook beats Sean Porter, the fight's out there for him. I mean, the one we got to make is Amir Khan, obviously, but sometimes it's difficult because all of a sudden Kell Brook's a champion of the world and Amir Khan's the voluntary challenger. That's going to go down well, isn't it? I mean, I couldn't even get him for $5 million before. So all fights are difficult to make, but you know, I would think the plan for Kell would to be fight in August against Porter, win, and then have one more fight this year, have a voluntary defence, and then try and unify. You know, I mean, it's a great division, isn't it? Blimey.
Absolutely. Bradley Anthony, Eddie, doing a great job for British boxing. What's the next step for James DeGale if he doesn't fight Carl Froch? PS, do you have any jobs at Matchroom?
No jobs at Matchroom at the moment. Quite an interesting one for DeGale because I want to deliver a world title shot for him, and I think I can this year. Again, huge show plan for October, which he'll be on if he doesn't get the Froch fight, and he'll definitely get the Froch fight, but it's just a case of when. Because the mandatory's not due till the end of February. So Carl could have a voluntary in November, December. But again, James DeGale, you know, is in a good position because he's my client. So I'm looking out for him. I'm carving out opportunities for him. And I will make sure that he's in a big fight. You know, I quite like the idea of DeGale against Kessler, with the winner fighting Froch at Wembley next summer. But a lot depends on Carl and what he chooses to do. Listen, he might turn around and, you know, all our talks with Aram and Chavez have been leading towards an October fight. That's not going to happen. So if that doesn't happen and he wants to fight this year, then it may well be the gal.
Okay. Right, I like this. Mark, this is from Mark. Really like your word. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you have to answer the first thing, like either one, or you can't think about it. It's got to go straight away.
People can't see. Look, I mean,
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I didn't understand. You explained that so badly.
All right. Okay. I'm not a salesman, am I? I'm going to
Is that
list
a
you.
dig?
I'm going to list you some fights. You have to pick the winner who you think.
Okay, oh, that was a bit easier. Yeah.
Right. But you
I'm
can't
going to
think...
say these things, and then you're going to say
all right.
whatever.
But you can't think about it.
Right. Okay.
Ready?
Go.
Fury Chisora.
Fury.
Belly Cleverly.
Oh.
You fucked it out already.
I represent both. I mean,
You fucked it out
okay,
already.
draw.
Floyd Pac-Man.
Floyd.
Hay versus any heavyweight not named Klitschko.
Hay.
Quig Frampton.
Quig.
Brooke Khan.
Brooke.
Bones Crawler.
Crawler. Draw. You know, when I've got two, you know, I mean, it's, you know.
That's not really intended. He was meant to bang, bang, bang.
Burns Crawler's a really interesting fight. I mean, Burns looks great at the moment. I was watching him with Tony Sims the other day, but he's got a really tough fight next Friday. 18-0 Serbian. I keep getting these Serbia Montenegros wrong. Someone had a go at me because I said that Provodnikov was Serbian. He's actually from Siberia.
Okay. Right, this is going to be the last one before we break.
Okay.
Danny Richardson, Eddie. There have been a few calls for you to hand in making a UK version of The Contender. Firstly, do you think there is a market for a reality TV show based around boxing? If you were to do it, what weight division would you focus on? And when choosing the fighters to take part, would it come down to talent or the personality of the fighter? Bearing in mind, you've got to get people to watch it. For example, would you choose controversial characters who aren't necessarily the most talented boxers to take part, or boring yet talented fighters?
Give him some tickets. The answer, a lot to answer there. Starting with the end, you would have to have personalities. And the talent is not as important in a show like that, because it's really about the personalities. It's a reality show. In answer to your question, I've pitched and spoke to our broadcaster about these kind of shows, and really I want to take as much money from them as I can to put as many shows on as possible, and not take anything out of that pot to run something like this. There was small interest, but I don't think it was the right time. That was probably 2 years ago. I think there's a market for a Contender style show because of the state of British boxing right now. I can't say it's something that's right at the top of our agenda. I'd like to be involved with it, something different. But I think we're getting to a stage now where boxing is big enough to have a show like that.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching part one. Part two will be up tomorrow, which is Thursday. I'll be in Marbella, so I'll upload it from Marbella.
How long are you going to Marbella from?
3 days.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
Oh,
Having it.
are you
Well,
gonna?
no, we're not having it. Obviously, we're filming there at Macklin's gym, and then we're going to have it.
The Ocean Club.
Already got
Budgie Snugglers.
Already got. Yeah, we're going to wear one of them things, Harry and Bobbin.
Each
Not
story.
really, not really. All right, thanks for watching part one, and like I said, part two will be out tomorrow.